So yesterday, we started making this part. We made this base, basically a rectangle with rounded corners. And then we extruded it to be the right height. And then we started drawing the shapes. And we got through 3 of the 4 shapes. We did the square and the circle. Those were the easiest. Then we did the triangle. That wasn't too bad. We're going to do the star now. And you may recall that I mentioned some specific things yesterday. And I asked you guys to come up with some ideas. The idea was thrown up, well, you could probably use a pentagon, right? And also maybe a circle to help us draw this. And yeah, we're going to do exactly that. So I want you to make a pentagon, and I would do the inscribed one. That's where the circle is on the inside, okay? That'll help keep the circle out of the way. So I'm going to do the inscribed polygon. I'm just going to kind of place it here, and I do want it to be a pentagon. So as a reminder, to draw these, you click on the tool. The first click places the center. The second click roughly orients it and sizes it. And then the third click, if you move your cursor in and out, you can change that number, and the third click blocks the number of sides. Just kind of get it in the ballpark area. I wouldn't worry too much about it. Be mindful that you don't accidentally apply a constraint automatically. Okay? Questions thus far? Okay. I want you to look at that hole now. So for me, I have a point facing down towards the front. Yes? Yes? So a point is not going to be this. This is not a point of my star. I'm actually going to draw a triangle here to make a point. So I actually want a flat edge facing down towards the front. I hope you can you'll see it. If you don't see it now, you will. But I want a flat part facing down. We good? Yes or yeah? Towards the front edge. So you're going to want to use a horizontal constraint on that front or bottom edge. Front and bottom edge. There. I applied a horizontal constraint to that line. We're good? Yes or yeah? Questions about that? Okay. Next thing, we're going to kind of operate on some assumptions here that this star is centered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue with the horizontal constraint. I'm going to align the center of this pentagon up with the center of the triangle. Horizontal constraint. We good? Yes or yeah? We're good? And notice if I grab the center of this, I can't make it go up and down. Like I can slide it back and forth, but like I can't make it go up and down. If I try, it just makes it bigger and smaller. And then I'm going to do a vertical constraint. So click on vertical constraint. And I'm going to line up the center of the pentagon with the center of the circle. So I use the horizontal constraint to line up the center here with the triangular center. And I use a vertical constraint to line the center here up with the circular center. Are we good so far? The only dimension now that I have to provide is the size of the pentagon, because I've already locked in its orientation with that horizontal constraint on the bottom edge. And I've already locked in its location by horizontally and vertically constraining it to 2 other shapes. So, how big is this pentagon? That's a great question. So here's one thing that you could do. You could use your calipers, which are dead because someone did not take the battery out. What a goober. Unlucky. You could try and measure the width of one point. You could try and do that. And if you try and do that, what you're basically measuring is the side length of that pentagon. Okay? Now, I want to tell you from experience that this is easier said than done. You can try and do it. I don't want to say it's a lost cause, but trying to get a good width of that is not easy. However, I'm taking my teeth and basically doing that. I'm like grabbing 1 point, okay? And it's about 6. So you can do that. We can dimension the side length of the pentagon to be a number. I'm thinking it's about 6. And now everything is black. I should see a black pentagon. Are we good? We have questions. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a circle. And I'm going to go to the circle tool, and the circle is going to be sharing the center of the pentagon. So I'm going to click on the center of the pentagon. I'm going to draw a circle out like this. Good so far? Yeah? Okay. Next, I need you to be very careful while doing this. Do not accidentally apply a constraint automatically while sketching. Be very careful. Sometimes you need to draw things to look stupid. Trust me, it's going to look dumb. But you're making it deliberately bad so that the lines clearly are not vertical or horizontal or perpendicular or parallel, so that those constraints don't automatically get applied. And you can clean it up later, but sometimes you have to make it almost look really bad to avoid those constraints automatically being applied. Watch what I do. I'm going to use the line tool, and I'm going to make my points. So I'm going to start at this corner, and I'm going to go to the circle. If I'm not careful, I might get that right there as an automatically applied horizontal constraint. I don't want that. So you got to make sure the only constraint you see, that constraint right there is a coincident constraint. That is just saying that the end of the line is forced to be on the circle. Okay, that constraint right there, we understand? But if you see any other constraints other than that coincident constraint, that means you're automatically applying constraints you may not want. It could be horizontal, vertical, perpendicular, possibly even parallel. I doubt parallel, but you never know. Okay, so I'm applying that line to this next line. Again, as it's going to go to this corner. The next one, don't accidentally apply a constraint. Okay, don't want to accidentally apply any constraints. So I'm going to click. I just want that coincident constraint. I don't want it to be accidentally horizontal or perpendicular. There's a perpendicular constraint. We don't want any of that. Oh, I got a parallel. See, there's a parallel constraint. You got to be very careful. Okay? Don't accidentally apply a constraint. Just click. Click. All right? You'll do that for all 5 points. Don't accidentally apply constraints. If you run into issues later, winning strat, delete the lines, draw them again. Trying to get rid of a constraint that's already been applied accidentally, don't do it. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's really, really hard. So I have my points. They don't look great, and that's fine. I've deliberately drawn them to avoid accidentally applying a constraint I don't want. Okay? I'll give you a spiritual moment to do that. Meanwhile, I'm going to watch a cat video. Can we just talk about the fact that all of you could have made a cat as beautiful as this, and none of you did? Look at this beauty right here. Look at that beauty. Yeah. Drake did that. Can you believe it? Huh? Is yours as good? I'm excited to see it then. Do you have it here in person? Dude, someone submitted their cat picture from last year. No, I lied. They submitted a picture of their cat from last year. At first, I was like, they took last year's picture, right? Because they had this, they had me as a teacher before. Then I realized in the background is a picture of Canvas. And it's this year's Canvas because it says spring 2026. So that means that they had their paper origami cat for over a year. They've just been casually sitting on it, waiting for the day when that AMI assignment would strike again. So then they could get an up-to-date photo and instead of having to reuse the one from last year. Because I told them, you gotta make a new cat. So if I saw pictures from last year, yeah, I gave those 0 points to all my juniors and seniors. But I gave that man a point because it's a new picture. He kept the actual cat the entire year. Proud of that man. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to do an equal constraint. So listen very carefully. You're going to go to the equal constraint. All right. Now, we want all 10 of these lines to be the same size. Yes, yeah?
Yeah.
Trust me on this. The best way to do this is the daisy chain. It's the simplest. Okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to start with a line. I would pick like the top right, just after 12 o'clock, so to speak, so you don't forget which one you started with. You're going to make it equal to the next one, going clockwise. So here's line 1. I click on line 2. Then I click on line 2, and then click on line 3. Then I click on line 3, and click on line 4. And then 4 and 5. 5, 6. 6, 7. 7, 8. 8, 9. 9, 10. You don't need to set 10 equal to 1 because that already technically exists. At this point, the only thing you should be able to do is make your circle bigger or smaller. Look at those points. Those are beautiful, aren't they? Absolutely beautiful. This is the only thing you should be able to change is the size of the circle. These points should not like slide around anymore. They should only go in and out to make the circle bigger or smaller. Yes?
What if mine what if it won't work?
I don't even know what that
It can't be
means.
solved.
Sounds like a skill issue. Why don't you bring your thing here and I'll look at it. I'm telling you right now, 9 times out of 10, if you get a constraint automatically applied, the best way is delete it all and draw it again. But I'll take a look at it and give you, hopefully give you some feedback that's insightful as to why it's not working. So sketch solve means you're trying to apply a constraint that would conflict with another constraint. For example, I can't tell something to be horizontal and vertical, right? I can't tell something to be 2 inches, but also 3 inches. Okay, so that's what you're doing. Now you didn't do that on purpose, but that's why it's moving. Okay, so I'm looking here and I see this vertical constraint right here. I'm guessing that was an accident. So that line's constrained vertically, and it's not possible for this to be forced to be vertical, but also the same length as this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that. It's like a darker pink. You see that, so it's selected, and I'm going to delete it. So that was definitely an issue. I also see a perpendicular constraint, right? So I'm going to delete that as well. You see how I try to make those perpendicular? I delete that. So that's why I'm going to draw and be very mindful of drawing and accidentally applying constraints. So I think you might maybe be in okay-ish shape, but you're not in great shape because you didn't dimension anything, did you? What does this do? That's not right. So that's not the issue. You still have some other constraint somewhere. Okay?
I do. I'm worried. That's true.
Did you sign this here?
I saw horizontal, but I think that's right. Okay. I'm gonna click on show constraints right here. So that is okay. That's horizontal. That's fine. That tangent is for that circle as part of that. Maybe this one. That's a vertical constraint. Yeah, but it's applied to this. I'm gonna do it. I think you're okay now, dude. Go try it out. Go try it out. You can do cool things. And then that checkbox, you can turn constraints off in that little checkbox, okay? All right. The last thing we got to do is we got to dimension the size of this. So, winning strat, right? Measure your person. Where is my person? Oh, there he is. All right. Now, what are you going to actually measure? All right. So, the best way to measure, I think, is like this. I can get a really good grip on my person, like that, right? A really good grip, right? See that? All right. There's no ambiguity with what that is, right? I would measure that. I got 15, by the way. Very close to 15. So now we just have to actually measure what that is on the CAD software. So I'm going to show you what I'm measuring on the CAD software. Make sure you're paying attention. I'm going to dimension. I'm going to click on my point. We see this point? Yes, yeah? And then I'm going to click on one of these points up here. Yes, yes, yay? Yeah. And then when I drag my dimension over, watch very carefully what I do. If I do it like really close, see how it's aligned with the line? But if I go a little bit further to the left, you see how it's vertical now? And actually, if I were to go further down, it would be horizontal, by the way. But I'm going to go like this. I want it to be vertical. You do not want it to be aligned. That's not what we measured. We measured this vertical. And then I can put 15 in there. And everything should be black. It should not have been black until you put that number in. If it was black before you put that number in, you have a dimension or constraint somewhere else that you don't want. Now, I'm not done, but I'm really close to done. Okay? I'm really close. Really close. But I want to make sure that we're all, or at least mostly-ish there before I move forward. Any questions? Well, good, boys? Not good? Well, if you need help, you know what to do. You bring your thing here. I'll look at it. Worst case scenario, I just go on the internet on your laptop and upload the cat video. That's the worst thing that could possibly happen. So, like, if you want me to look at your thing, you bring it here up to me and I'll look at it. Otherwise, I'm going to keep watching this cat video on my other screen. All right, so first I'm going to look for constraints that should not be there. So I see a horizontal constraint there, which should be, that's for that line, right? But I also see one right here. See that? Yeah, that's not good. Hey, look at that. We're winners. Easy, problem solved. Path to victory identified. The more you know. All right. Anyone else? Or we move on. Okay. Folks, we're going to now move on to a little tip here that makes your life easier. So, do you notice how this triangle is solid, but the circle inside it is dashed? Do we see that? Yeah? When we drew the pentagon, pentagon's solid, circle inside's dashed. Yes, say yeah? Okay, don't exit out of your sketch, just watch. Watch what happens. So, notice, remember, there's a circle here and a triangle, right? But when I go to try to extrude this, I can't select the circle. It's there, but I can't select it. I can only select the triangle. So what does that dashed line do? Well, that dashed line is called a construction line. And construction lines allow you to dimension and constrain and sketch with, but they're ignored when it comes to selecting a shape for extrusions. Because if that was not a construction line, all right, whenever it would hover over this, I would have to select a circle and then select each of these 3 bounded regions, each point of the triangle, right? Which is annoying. I got to click on 4 things instead of 1. Well, over here, I want to make some more things dashed lines because I don't want them to be considered part of the enclosed shapes that I extrude. So you tell me, what should I make a dashed line here? What would be a construction thing that I don't actually want to extrude? It just helped me make the shape. What do you think?
Pentagon.
The pentagon, for sure. What else? What else? There's one other thing that I definitely don't want to be able to select when I extrude. What do you think? The circle. So if you hover over your tool, so I'm still in sketch. I'm still in the sketch. Make sure you're still in the sketch. Okay? Right here, it's next to the arc or fillet tool. When you hover over it, it says construction. And it's basically a picture of a solid line on the left, a dashed line on the right, and arrows indicating like swapping between the two. It's called construction. We see it? Yes, say yeah. Yeah. You can click on that, and then you can click on the circle. Actually, you get to select a circle first, and then click on construction. And then the pentagon. And it's basically a toggle, by the way. So like, if you have stuff selected and you click it, it toggles those things. So just be aware, it's like a toggle. So let me move my cursor if I can. Basically everything but those points, those 10 points, are dashed lines. Questions? All right. I want you to finish your sketch. And I want you to click on extrude. And we're going to click on remove. What are we clicking on? What are we clicking on?
Remove.
Remove. And now I can just go click, 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 click. That was really nice. Literally just one click for the star because I made everything else a construction line, so it gets ignored, which is great. Now, how deep should I cut my holes? What do you guys think? How deep should I cut my holes? What are you thinking, Ben?
All the way through the length of the eye.
All the way through. Now, I could go look that number up, right? Waste of time. First off, what if I change that number later, right? I don't have to come back and change the depth of my holes too, right? Also, it's not necessary. Right here, notice it says the word blind. That means it's going to extrude blindly whatever distance you put here. It's not going to care what's in the way. It's going to go that distance. But if you change this end type to something else, up to next, for example, it will just extrude up to the next thing that it hits, which would be the bottom of the shape. You could also even go through all if you want. Okay? Either or would be fine here. And then you can hit the green check mark. Question. Any questions? Okay. Last thing, this is kind of a cool thing. We're going to use a shell feature. I hope you can appreciate, you might be able to kind of see this. If you look at that base plate, you can probably kind of figure out that it's kind of like hollow on the inside. You guys notice that? It's not solid. It's kind of got a little hollowness to it. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to the bottom. So flip it over, make sure you're looking at the bottom. Don't look at the top, look at the bottom. And we're going to do the shell feature. So the shell feature is this one right here. I'm pinging it. It's in between the hole feature, which has got a cube with a hole, and like a rib feature, which has got like an L-shaped thing with a angled triangular brace. You're going to click on shell. It says faces to remove. You're going to click on the bottom face. And that's it. You can change the shell thickness to whatever you want. If you make it really thin, all right, it looks really cool. But it's probably not 1/100th of a millimeter thin. I'm not 100% sure how thin it is, but if I try 1, it doesn't work. If I try 0.5, it does. So some numbers might not work. It's a math thing, but if it's like too thick or too thin, sometimes issues come up. This is one of the few times that I'm not actually rounding to the nearest millimeter because I don't want it to be too thick. I want a 0.5. Seems like a good number. Do we have questions, boys? We're good? All right, we're done with this piece. What I would encourage you to do is color it. So mine are blue. Now, you could be a really good guy here, a swell guy, and you could rename all of your things to be intelligent names. So like I could rename this the base plate. Or base. I could then name the holes. I could name them shapes. I could name them people holes. What do you think? What do you think about that name? There are the holes that people fit in. People holes? Not vibing with that? No? Too soon? Too soon? All right. Any questions before we move on? Because we are going to start the next shape. All right. Make a new file. Or tab, however you're doing it. So, we're going to do what's referred to as the connector piece next. So the connector piece, it's these plastic pieces. They do come all the way out. They look like this. They have a rectangular slot that fits into the rectangular slots on the car. And then the other side has 2 holes. I think, let's see, the truck is squares. The green truck is squares, I think. Orange, is that diamonds? Or the orange, is the orange one, is it diamonds or triangles?
Triangles.
Orange is triangles. I think the purple is the diamonds then, correct? Light blue is ovals. Dark blue is circles. So you will, just like when you did your passenger section, the main body, you all had to do kind of your own holes here. It'll be no different on this, but that's like that's a minor detail, right? It's a minor detail. Okay? So we are going to make this piece. I'm going to tell you right now, we're not going to make it 100% perfectly, but we are going to be able to make it close enough. And the idea here, honestly, is you learn how to do CAD, not that you make a dutiful representation of this car. All right, we're good? Yes, yeah? All right. So, make a new tab or a new file, and we're going to call this the connector. So I'm clicking on the plus sign, and I'm choosing Create Part Studio. And I'm calling this one the connector. Sound good? Yeah? Yeah. Now, when we make this piece here, all right, we're going to have to do multiple extrusions because there is no one shape or profile that's the exact, like, there is no one profile that's the entire height. So I want you to look at your connector piece. Do you notice how this bottom part that I'm grabbing is a little bit thicker? Yes or yeah? We're going to make that separate from the top. Also, think about the little, I don't know what you call them, thumb grabber, clippy thing. I don't know what you call these. They're not really clips. They kind of are clips. All right. How would you make those? Well, that's going to be a little bit trickier. So we will make those, and I'll show you how. But I want you to kind of look in between the clips and the rest of the connector. Do you see how it's angled in there? Do you guys see that? Do you guys see that? So, yeah, that's going to complicate things as well. All right? That's going to complicate things as well. So, what we're going to do is we're going to draw, I'm going to refer to this as the bottom, the thicker part. Okay? But I'm not going to draw it on the top plane. I'm going to draw it actually on the front plane because my thinking, right, is if this is like the car, it goes like this, yeah? So I'm going to draw this on the front plane. But, you know, it doesn't really matter. You do you. And I am going to draw this two different ways. I want you to just watch me draw this. You ready to do that? Way number one. I'm going to use the line tool here. So I got like some action going up and over and down and over and up and over and down and over and up and over and down and that. And then I guess I'll finish, make those connect there. Kind of an H-shaped thing, right? Yes, yeah? And then I would have to dimension a lot of stuff. I'd have to make a lot of things equal to each other or dimension them the same number. All right. I could certainly do that. Sound good? Yes, yeah? I'm going to do this all over again. I'm going to use the center point rectangle. So there's one rectangle. Sound good? Yeah. And then I'm going to draw another center point rectangle and another center point rectangle. I don't know why it's not letting me snap to align that up. Oh, there we go. What do you guys think? Which one's easier? Which one's better? What do you think, guys? Line tool or rectangles? What do you guys like?
Rectangle.
You like the rectangles the most? Yeah? So, choose your poison. The line tool is not going to have all these lines in the middle. But I will tell you, it was really a lot easier drawing out the rectangles, wasn't it? And some things are already constrained. Knowing what you know, you could try and do construction lines on some of these, but you'll notice that it doesn't really work because those two rectangles are separate. I can't construct a line segment that's part of an existing line. I can only do it to actual lines that I've drawn. I want to see something here. No, didn't think so. I need you to get the overall basic shape drawn. I am going to use the line tool because I think it's a little bit more complicated. And so that's what I want to have on the tutorial. Actually, no, I'm not. I feel like that's teaching you bad technique. I'm going to use a rectangle like I did. I liked my rectangle. So I'm using a center point rectangle. And then I'm going to do a center point rectangle there. And a center point rectangle there. One of the advantages of doing center point rectangles also is I've already got it centered up with my origin, and then I actually have centers for the holes. So if I have circular, square, diamond, or oval holes, I already got centers. The triangles are the only ones that don't really get that center benefit. Are we good? Yeah? Let's start dimensioning this. So I gotta get the overall width. Looks like it's about 58. Overall height. $20. So I'm going to dimension from here to here. 58. 20. Now you can use some constraints. For example, I could do an equal constraint to make the height of this rectangle on the right the same as the height of this rectangle on the left. Sound good? You'll say yeah? And then I can get the size of that gap, I guess, in the middle. Looks like it's about 15. And then I'm going to use an equal constraint. So I made these the same height. Now I'm going to make them the same width. So this is going to be a hard thing to dimension. You might have to ballpark it a little bit. Or maybe a lot of it. I don't really know. Basically, I got to measure the width or height of that smaller rectangle. It's like kind of like the midsection. I'm getting about 11. Everything's black. Tomorrow, we'll fill it. There's different size fillets. They're not all the same. There's 3 different size fillets. We'll do the extrusion. We'll add the top part. We'll do a loft. I'll show you how to do that. We'll do another extrusion. You'd be so kind. Don't leave your cars out. And make sure to take the battery out of your calipers. Don't be like this kid over here who left his battery in. Now it's dead. And go replace it. Don't be that person.